About a decade ago, well, actually a bit more than a decade, I would say 12, 13 years ago, you had this myth that became popular that we only use 10% of our brains or 10% of our brain activity. The word neurologist came out and said that's nonsense because your brain needs blood. That's why in all your brain cells there is activity. Maybe not activity for which the brain cells are meant, but blood is streaming throughout your brain, so your whole brain is active. So it's nonsense that you only use 10% of your brain. But here's the catch. The pagans that revealed this understanding, they revealed the real fact in an inverted manner, because that's what pagans often do. They reveal true facts onto you, but in an inverted manner, so that the true facts seem ridiculous. Okay? Remember the deconstruction I made of the Spider-Man myth. How it relates to men often not operating in their capacities as male entities, because they don't operate in the natural male energy. And in that movie or series of Spider-Man, the pagans reveal in an inverted manner what men are capable of. But they do it in an inverted manner. They come with this fantasy figure called Spider-Man that kind of hovers around as a spider. So that's the ridiculous part. But they use that ridiculous metaphor to reveal what men are capable of. But because they do it in such an inverted manner, you think, oh, that's just fiction. I don't want to waste my time on it. Now look, that myth that we only use 10% of our human potential, it's true, but not in the way you think it is. We use our brain, okay? Because if 90% of our brain was not active, those brain cells would die off and your body would die off. So I'm not talking about that. What it comes down to is mankind is a spirit being with a soul in the spirit living in a body. So we are material, but we're not material creatures. But we think we are material creatures. So we only relate to each other and to the environment around us as material beings, even though we're not material beings. And here's the thing. As a spirit being, you have spirit abilities, you have energetic abilities. Most people don't even know this. Nevertheless, they are operating in their energetic abilities, but often in a self-destructive manner. That's what those pagans meant with, we only use 10% of our abilities. And they're telling what's true. But they're not telling you the truth because they don't give you the proper context. But that's how pagans do. They reveal true facts in an inverted manner to make the reality appear ridiculous, so that you are scared away from that reality, and now you hold on to irreality thinking that's real. Look, when you walk as Christ intended, fully as a human being, in your energetic abilities, when you do that, I'm telling you, you'll begin to process and see things quite differently. Now look, there are pagans operating in their human energetic field, but they do it in a negative, okay? I'm not talking about that. When you truly operate in agreement with Christ in your energetic abilities as human being, whether you're male or female, I'm telling you, you will process things quite differently. Things used to upset you don't upset you anymore because you see the bigger picture, how it affects you. And because you not operate from a passive-aggressive mindset anymore, which is the common way of operating in the world, but you operate in an active mindset. Women tend to be more reactive. That's natural, and men tend to be more proactive. Well, once you operate from an active mindset in line with Christ, I'm not saying active in line with paganism, but once you operate actively in line with Christ, you'll realize that as a reflective being made in God's image, you have a lot of impact. I mean, let me give an example to you, okay? This is a brief example. I'm not telling you to copy what I'm about to say in this example, okay? But it's just an example to illustrate to you. You have a young woman who wants to have friends, and she also wants a man. Oh, that's a good thing. She has natural human desires, so I'm happy about that. She's not into that feministic asexual BS, okay? But now she thinks that she ain't pretty. So she begins to use makeup to make herself feel pretty. And indeed it works that she gets attention from men, but those men are often shy, or those men are predators. So one day, she has this sister of her from a local church that tells her, dear, you are a spirit being, remember? You're made in God's image. Yes, you are a female, but nevertheless you're still a spirit being. Even as a woman, you are still a spirit being, you have abilities. So, every day you wake up, speak out how great your life is and agree with it. And use your imagination to visualize it onto the environment. But then that young woman, let's call her Rosalinda, said, but that's pagan, that's occult. And the sister of the local church told her, that's not true. That's a lie of the enemy. So Rosalinda begins to do this. And sooner or later, everywhere she entered in, people tend to notice her. People tend to stare at her, not just in a sexual manner. Of course, men tend to fantasize all of that, but people began to feel comfortable around her. What happens? That anxious, passive-aggressive thinking, she was out of her, she let go of it, and now she had a reactive yet active way of thinking, and that made her attractive. Why? She operated in her natural femininity. And the fact that she operated in her natural femininity had two effects. It scared off predators, because a woman operating in a natural femininity is powerful. All right? And predators hate natural feminine energy, especially when it's active. So it kept predators at bay, so she didn't have to really bother about that. I'm not saying predators couldn't come close or couldn't make a tent, but they kept them at bay. And at the same time, she didn't have to stress it much on how to please other people. So that people-pleasing addiction was gone also. She now could confidently say no to someone without hurting someone's feelings, because that individual she was interacting with would still feel the love coming out of her even when she says no. So she managed to relate to other people without being stuck in people-pleasing, and at the same time having people not feeling hurt by her. She operated in a natural femininity as a spirit being, and it is powerful. Rosalinda had a friend, let's call her Rachel, and she thought this whole spirituality thing is BS. She did it by her own understanding, which was influenced by feminism, so she began to act bitchy. And it worked, but at the same time it made her depressed, it made her angry. It caused all kinds of insecurity issues inside of her. And that bitchy attitude, even the potential good mates that she could have had, all in front of her. So the type of men that became attracted to her, masculine emission, which a woman should have, were the type of abusive predators that had the abusive predatory men that appeared feminine. So now it works. She has her way, she has so-called strong boundaries and all of that, but it all works against her. And she still has all the stress and all that heaviness around her. If she would have done as Rosalinda, things would have been different. But because Rachel's still operating from passive aggression, and it works, she's blinded by thinking that how she's doing things is the right way. Well, Rosalinda looks at it and realizes, hold on a minute, this is quite bad. This is quite self-destructive. Okay, that was the parable. Just a way to point out to you that this Rosalinda in that parable realized she had more abilities. And these abilities could be used in her environment by her. So she realized, I need to practice and walk in my natural abilities. So she did. And look what I'm saying here. pagans are teaching you to, how do I say it like this? When pagans reveal that you have more abilities, they do it in such a way that you end up operating in a far greater self-destructive way than you used to. They may tell you that you only use 10% of your abilities, but at the same time they will teach you stuff that will attract demons onto you. So now you're using demonic aid to do things you otherwise would be able to do naturally in line with Christ. Okay? Now I gave you the context and the content. And I always teach you, subscribers, to evaluate the context with the content. If the context and the content don't match, there's a conflict. Something's up there. Look, that meant that we only use 10% of our brain capacity. It's really 10% of our human capacity, but they made it brain capacity, put the word brain there to mislead you. But now I expose that myth onto you. It's a true fact, but it's not the truth because I don't give you the proper context of it. Well, that's it for now. Agree with Christ and be at peace.